maybe I didn't finish this, I don't know. Okay. So let's go over this again. This would be the capsule, the cortex, and parts of the cortex dipping in here would be called the columns. This is the medulla. These are particularly called the pyramids. You've got pyramids. And the urine is made here and here. By the time it gets to the papilla, it's a done deal. It's not changing. After the tip is called the the minor calyx. After that, minor calyces form a major calyx. The major calyces form the pelvis. And then from there we go to the ureter. Not urethra, ureter. Ureter. Okay. This is the glomerulus. So let's see, this thing here, right? So we have two basic kinds of nephrons. That's the functional structural unit of the kidney. Some are called cortical nephrons, and they're mainly in the cortex with a short loop of Henle, or nephron loop. Juxtamedullary nephrons, oh, there you are partially in the cortex, but have very long loops of Henle. And these are only about 15 to 20% of the nephrons, but they control how dilute or concentrate the urine is. Okay, these are the more common ones, okay? Now, the first step in making urine is a filtration step. So that's back in the glomerulus. Coming in is an afferent arteriole, and then breaks into these glomerular capillaries. Leaving is the efferent arteriole, not a venial, because we don't have gas exchange or anything. So the first thing is the wall of the capillary is going to screen out the formed elements. So what you have left is plasma. The next step is the basement membrane screens out large proteins. And then the pedocells of these podocytes screen out the medium-sized proteins. So what you wind up out here in the capsular space is plasma minus most of the proteins. It still has glucose, it still has amino acids, it still has small proteins.
So we got the same.
Okay. And this is the first part of the tubules. This is called the proximal convoluted tubule because it's near the glomerulus. That next step in making urine then is a reabsorption step. Okay. So the proximal convoluted tubule, you reabsorb things like the small proteins, amino acids, glucose, a lot of sodium ions, and water follows it. So that's in the proximal convoluted tubule. And the type of cells we have here are called cuboidal. They're simple cuboidal with long microvilli to increase surface area and lots of mitochondria for energy to do that. Then we come to the loop of Henle. This is the cortex, this is the medulla. This is very concentrated in salt. And that pulls water out of this descending limb. Okay? Okay. Ascending limb is supposed to be water impermeable, but also ascending limb has this thick portion where you're pumping out sodium and chloride ions. That's why it's concentrated out here. So a lot of water is reabsorbed there. In the distal convoluted tubule, that's where we do a lot of secretion. So we have three steps. We have filtration, reabsorption, and secretion. Here's where we secrete nitrogen-containing substances. When you break down amino acids, you get nitrogen. So things like urea, ammonia, creatine, stuff like that. Also, if you have excessive hydrogen ions, you can get rid of excess hydrogen ions there too. And then it's under variable control by hormones. So what hormones would control the distal convoluted tubule and collecting duct? What hormones are important here?
No idea.
Anybody? Aldosterone and ADH.
Good job.
So antidiuretic hormone causes, so if you have been out in the desert or something, you're not drinking enough water, you need to conserve all the water as possible, so that's antidiuretic hormone causes you to reabsorb water from the tubules back into the bloodstream. If the concentration of salt is too low, aldosterone causes sodium to be reabsorbed, and water follows sodium ions. So that would increase the blood volume and blood pressure. Now, if your blood volume is too high, we have a substance coming from the heart called atrial natriuretic peptide, and that does the opposite. I have to go back here because I didn't tell you all about that part. Let me go back here. So notice this, the distal convoluted tubule comes close to here. And we have cells here, just glomerular cells. These are modified smooth muscle cells, and cells here called the macula densa. These are monitoring the concentration in the fluid and the pressure. So these macula densa cells can cause these cells to release a substance called renin. Renin then causes aldosterone to be secreted and antidiuretic hormone to be secreted. So that's called the renin, and I gave you a handout on that. You don't have to know all the details in the handout. So what else do we have to do? So you have to watch out, because when you're looking at this, you're going to see a lot of these glomeruli in the cortex. They look a lot like pancreatic islets, but they're not. We have to have pancreatic islets from these. But these, you get a lot more. Pancreatic islets are rare. So if you see a lot of these, it's the kidney, not the pancreas. Also, you see lots of tubules. You don't see that in the pancreas. They're there, but you don't see them. Now, there's two types of capillaries. There's the peritubular around the tubules, and what we call the long looping vasa recta. They'd be here. Okay. So those hormones can work on the distal convoluted tubule and collecting duct to change how concentrated or not things are. Okay. So that's about it, I think.